In football, a transfer between two clubs is a pretty simple deal. One club will like a player and feel that adding him will add some kind of depth and value to their squad, so they'll contact the other club and try and get a deal done. The deal done, or getting done rather, it happens in two steps. One, the clubs have to agree on a fee, assuming the player is still under contract, and not just that, the player then has to agree a transfer, or rather a package, a pay package with the club that is interested in signing him. That sounds pretty simple, but what if one particular player is being courted by a club for a long time, only for another club to jump in, gazump the other club, offer a far bigger fee, only to then get turned down by the player themselves? That is exactly what happened with the transfer of this player right here, Moises Caicedo. Now, Caicedo currently is playing for Brighton and Hove Albion, although for how long, that is something that remains to be seen. But this one was probably one of those transfer stories that ends up really taking the cake in terms of the sheer ridiculousness of it all. It was in many ways a three-way story, and we'll go over the story in just a bit and why exactly it is that we believe this particular transfer, or the way it happened, or the way things happened, ended up happening, leaving a lot of egg on some people's faces and turning it into one giant joke on social media. First off, let's start off with the rather simple thing that Caicedo was someone who was being linked with Chelsea throughout the summer this time around. Now, to be fair, he had been linked with Chelsea all through the summer. It was assumed among most quarters that it was a given that he would be joining the club. In fact, the player had even agreed personal terms with the side as far back as May of this year. So it's been really a long time that this transfer has been simmering. The only thing that was the major sticking point was, of course, the transfer fee. Now, Brighton wanted about 100 million plus for Caicedo. Chelsea were willing to go only up to 80 million. So Brighton said, you know what, fine, we'll sell him to you at 80 million, but only if you include Levi Colwill, a promising youngster from Chelsea who had spent last season on loan at Brighton, in the deal. Chelsea weren't willing to include Colwill, and in fact ended up signing Colwill to a new and improved deal, and he will be part of the squad in this particular season. So the sticking point remained as far as the transfer fee was confirmed. Chelsea were not willing to go above the 80 odd million mark. Brighton wanted 100 million or more. Naturally, this left the door open for another club to come in and try and hijack the deal. And that's exactly what Liverpool did, because they ended up not only matching Brighton's price, but actually overdoing it. Brighton wanted 100 million and Liverpool ended up offering 110 million pounds in offer. Naturally, the club agreed to sell Caicedo to Liverpool because this was higher than the valuation that they had set on the player. And Chelsea, in a bit of panic, actually ended up submitting another bid that was in 105 million mark, but that was rejected by Brighton because again, Liverpool had offered 5 million pounds more. So far, so good. It did seem like Liverpool had managed to successfully hijack a transfer of a player that Chelsea had been courting for the best part of 2 to 3 months. So far, so good. Well, they even ended up booking a medical test to ensure that the player's medical could get done and that he could be unveiled before this weekend's opening game. But there was one more twist in the tale. Liverpool were rejected by Caicedo himself. He said very clearly that he had no interest of joining Liverpool and he only wanted to join Chelsea because, having given his word to the club and having agreed personal terms with them since the month of May, which we mentioned earlier in this video, he did not want to break his word to them and was determined to only join Chelsea. What that did in rather spectacular fashion was that it ensured that Liverpool, despite actually having the bid accepted, had to walk away from the deal because the player himself was not interested in joining, and it once again left Chelsea with a clear and open path to the player. In fact, the Blues will be making an improved bid for Caicedo, and this time it is expected that the deal will be completed because again, the only other club willing to match that deal have been pushed away by no one but the player himself. Now, obviously, this is one of those stories that, to be fair, it has happened in the past that if a deal is hijacked, the player's head, because he wants to move away, will end up going even to the club aside from the one who he had agreed to join early on. Caicedo remarkably ended up actually sticking to his guns, when actually a transfer to Liverpool would make far more sense. Chelsea this season aren't playing any kind of European competition. They finished 12th last year in the Premier League, whereas Liverpool are at the very least playing in the Europa League and, at least on paper, do have a better a chance of making it back to the Champions League before Chelsea do. So the fact that Caicedo actually managed to stick to his guns and say that no, I'm only going to join Chelsea was pretty amazing, to put it politely, and does in fact speak highly of a player when it comes to him actually sticking by his word. He did agree terms with Chelsea and he doesn't want to move anywhere else. So the aim, and this is the ironic part now for Chelsea, is to actually unveil him before their own opening game of the Premier League season, which incidentally happens to be against Liverpool. Ouch. Talk about rubbing salt on the wounds. That is, in fact, as I said, one of the funniest and craziest transfer window stories from this particular window, the summer of 2023. And it definitely ranks up there for me when you're talking about stories that were just wacky, weird, and outright funny. What do you guys think? Do you think this is probably one of the funniest stories that we've seen in this particular transfer window? You can let us know in the comments below, and don't forget to like this video, share it with your friends, subscribe to the channel, tap that bell icon, leave us a comment, follow us on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. Don't forget to download the SportsTak app, and if you're already on the channel, go ahead and check out some other videos that we've done. But for now, from my side, it is goodbye.